Hello everyone, in this video I'll be translating and summarizing the latest Urdu broadcast by Shahbaz Gill to make it accessible for our English-speaking audience. Let's go through the key developments and insights in Shahbaz Gill's words. We begin with breaking news from Washington, D.C. Today, a very unfortunate incident took place with Army Chief Field Marshal Awami Munir in Washington, D.C. To avoid this untoward incident, many plans were made by the Pakistani embassy in the United States and General Sahib's team. They did extensive planning, altered many schedules, created policies and made numerous changes, even cancelling and diverting some plans. Despite all these precautions, the unfortunate incident still took place. We will give you a detailed briefing about this incident, but at the same time, missiles are raining down on Israel and Iran. On one hand, chaos has erupted in Tehran, with missiles falling everywhere, including TV stations and grid stations. There is mass destruction and carnage. On the other hand, in response, Iranian missiles are relentlessly falling on Israel, and chaos is unfolding there as well. We will update you on the latest developments from the past few hours. Meanwhile, former President Donald Trump has made a very dangerous announcement related to this war. We will also share some interpretations of that. Additionally, there are other important news stories which we will cover, but first, let's discuss the unfortunate incident with Field Marshal Sahib. The incident took place in Washington, D.C. at the Four Seasons Hotel, where some Pakistanis got dangerously close to Field Marshal Awami Munir. They were so close that it posed a security threat. They raised very harsh slogans, some of which were unmentionable in this context. Let me give you the background of this situation and then show you the video, which is currently circulating on social media. What happened was that on June 14th, a Saturday, at 4 p.m, Field Marshal Awami Munir was scheduled to have a dinner with a group of Pakistani expatriates. These were individuals who sought exposure, much like chicken sellers, patwaris, who are, well, desperate for attention and recognition. These people, who have no real standing, wish to be seen as important, and they only seek public acknowledgement. They want to portray themselves as important figures, even if they have no notable achievements. Such people crave recognition, so when they get an opportunity, they exploit it to the fullest. These expatriates were invited by the embassy with the goal of showcasing them as supporters of Imran Khan and the rule of law. They wanted to create an image that overseas Pakistanis are united with the cause, throwing flowers and giving gifts at the dinner. This was all about image building, trying to present an ideal narrative. As soon as these individuals were invited, they made sure to publicize their invitations. Once word got out, the Pakistani community and Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, or PTI, announced a protest. Thousands showed up, although, to be honest, the actual estimate was around 100 people. In order to avoid any untoward incidents, the embassy cancelled the event scheduled for June 14th at 4 p.m. This protest took place, and as I showed you before, thousands of people came. The embassy decided to cancel the dinner for that day and, well, it was a relief that no untoward event took place. However, the embassy rescheduled the dinner for the 16th of June at 6 p.m, and the invitees were informed that the venue had changed. The Pakistani embassy then made a secret arrangement. They booked a hall at the Four Seasons Hotel, a prestigious 7-star hotel, but the location was strategically chosen. It was on the 3rd floor, beneath the basement, in a place where no windows were present, and it was isolated from the outside view. The embassy wanted to avoid any chance of a protest from the outside. If the event was held in a visible area, protests would erupt outside. So they arranged a covert dinner at the Four Seasons, far from the embassy, and they informed the invitees about the change in venue just a few hours before the event. When the Patwaris arrived at the Four Seasons, they thought it was just a venue change, but in reality they had been deceived. They were informed that the dinner would be at the embassy initially, but the venue was changed to avoid any confrontation. As soon as the invitees received the message, they were told the rules and dress code, as one would for a formal event. The event was scheduled for 6 p.m, and despite the venue change, the protest had not reached the Four Seasons. But there was one issue. A few young protesters managed to reach the venue and get close to Field Marshal Asim Munir's vehicle. The situation became chaotic and the protests escalated. The security team of the General Sahib must have had serious concerns about the security of the event, as these protesters were so close that it could have posed a threat to their safety. While we are not sure how many protesters were involved, perhaps 8 to 10 people, what is evident is that the protest became more visible with each passing moment, and it spread quickly on social media. Here is the video, showing the slogans that were raised during the incident. As you can see, the protesters started shouting slogans as soon as General Sahib's vehicle arrived at the hotel. This situation was undoubtedly concerning for security. This is where the management of the event fell short. The protesters managed to reach very close to the venue, and the embassy's team needs to reconsider their security measures. The fact that such a situation occurred shows that there were significant lapses in the planning and execution of security. We condemn the inappropriate language used during the protest. However, this is not something I support. I do not promote abusive behavior in any form, whether it comes from political figures or anyone else. While the protesters raised slogans, and some of their words were inappropriate, I will not promote such conduct. These videos are spreading widely on social media, and you can see the chaos and the slogans being raised. Despite the efforts made by the embassy and the general's team to control the situation, this unfortunate incident occurred. About 3 or 4 hours ago, they informed us about that dinner, and the message they sent to people stated that the new venue was the Four Seasons Hotel in Washington, D.C., located at 2800 Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest, Washington, D.C., and they also provided the zip code. At the bottom of the message, it was written that the time and other details remain unchanged. They looked forward to the presence of the recipients. This message was sent to all their patwaris or clerks. Now, obviously, the patwaris were waiting with their phones in hand, ready to head there. As soon as they received the message, they wanted to go to the embassy, but instead, they turned their vehicles and ended up arriving here. I believe one of these patwaris forwarded the message to the public. As I mentioned earlier, they need exposure, and they act as if they even take selfies at funerals to show people they had some relation with the deceased. They try to show that when I die, people will know that I had connections with important individuals. These people try to convince others that when I pass away, remember that this deceased person had a close relationship with me. Now, as soon as Field Marshal's car reached the hotel, slogans began to be raised, very harsh slogans. Following this, a group of protesters reached right behind the Field Marshal and they began calling him a murderer, relating it to the November 26 events in Pakistan. There was a gentleman there who I believe is affiliated with overseas Pakistanis. His name might be Kamar. He advanced angrily toward the group of Pakistanis protesting. However, he then realized that this was not Pakistan. This was America, and here no one's collar could be grabbed. As you can see, there was security, but none of the security staff touched them as they were exercising their democratic right to protest. The protest was very loud, and as the Field Marshal entered the hotel, they were received with a bouquet of flowers. However, the bouquet seemed to be of low value. In America, if you buy flowers from a good florist, they don't pack them like this. It was clear that one of the patwaris must have bought these flowers from Walmart or some other place and then gave them to the Field Marshal. They were very low-quality flowers, and generally such flowers are not given at formal events. But anyway, they were given. Sometimes these patwaris also do this. They pick up the flowers that they have received at home for family occasions like a relative's birthday or their wife's birthday, and present them as if they were purchased for the event. While the Field Marshal was being received with the flowers, loud slogans were still being raised behind him, and the sound of the protest was also reaching inside the hotel. Some of the Patwaris inside made videos, and while I don't know who exactly made these videos, it was clear from these videos that the slogans were still audible inside the hotel. Later, when I spoke to one of the people who went there, he told me that he was compelled to go. He said, "I had work in Pakistan, so I thought I'd attend. But it wasn't fun." He used the words, "We went there with certain expectations, but we didn't enjoy it." He further mentioned that when they entered, there were 4 levels of security. The first level was at the gate, where they were asked the purpose of their visit. After that, when they entered the hotel, embassy staff checked their messages and verified them. Then they were given a token and directed to go downstairs, where they were further checked. They went down to a basement-like area on the 3rd floor with no windows. There was nothing there. They checked their IDs and took their phones to ensure no mischief was recorded. When they reached the function hall in the basement, the field marshal had arrived. However, this whole incident became unpleasant, and despite changing plans repeatedly to avoid such a situation, things took a bad turn. Now, shifting to the current situation, there is a conflict between Iran and Israel. In the last few hours, an Iranian missile killed 8 Israelis in one strike and 300 others were injured. The Iranian ballistic missile hit central Israel, Haifa, Petah Tikva and Bnei Brak, and also damaged the United States Embassy or its consulate in Tel Aviv. The total death toll has now reached 24. Additionally, the Iranian missile also hit a strategic power plant in Haifa, which is vital for Israel's energy production. Al Jazeera covered this, and footage was broadcast on RT, the Russian TV channel. However, the broadcast was later stopped, and journalists were removed from the area. Iran's Revolutionary Guards have now claimed that they have neutralized Israel's defense system, causing Israeli missiles to hit each other instead of their targets. Israel, on the other hand, claimed that Iran's missile launchers had been destroyed, stating that they had taken out 120 of the 500 launchers Iran possesses. Meanwhile, Israel also declared that they control the entire airspace in Iran, allowing them to bomb anywhere in Iran without being stopped. Israel further claimed to have taken out over 120 Iranian missile launchers. This might be true, but as per Israeli reports, Israel has also launched an attack on Iran's national television, and their airstrikes have caused significant damage in Tehran. In the midst of this conflict, there are reports of a false claim circulating in the media. Some news outlets reported that Israel's spy caught in Iran was bound to a missile and then launched at Israel. This news was later corrected, as it was against international laws, and Iran could not have carried out such an act. Lastly, President Trump made a statement warning Iran to make a deal or face severe consequences. He said that if Iran had made a deal, it could have avoided the wrath of Israel. This statement is being interpreted as a clear warning from the United States, implying that Israel would launch a major attack on Iran soon. In conclusion, this was a grim and unsettling sequence of events that took place, starting with protests and evolving into a highly volatile military confrontation between 2 nations. That wraps up our translation of Shahbaz Gill's video. I hope this English version helped you understand his message better. Please like, share and subscribe to Awami Lens to help our community grow. Don't forget to leave a comment below and let me know what you thought of this effort.